Who are you?
Name's DeWitt.
Is that right? My. This one's a real biscuit. Isn't he a biscuit, lady?
Few things are so overlooked, yet happen to be so frustrating to me as when a game's story, themes, or just overall engagement are sullied by implementing the wrong mechanic. What I mean by the word mechanic is a feature of gameplay. For example, a modern military combat game's most prominent mechanic is shooting guns. That's the gameplay. That's what fills in the space between moments of dialogue, brief visual vignettes, and other elements of interactive storytelling. Of course, game mechanics are not distinct from story, and when implemented correctly, most mechanics in a game contribute to its story. But when implemented incorrectly, when the wrong mechanic is applied to even the best of games, the game fails to live up to its potential. Something just doesn't feel right in those games. And what inspired me to make today's video is BioShock Infinite's wrong mechanic: gun combat. Before you bring out the pitchforks, hear me out. I'm not saying BioShock Infinite isn't an amazing game. It is certainly one of my favorites, but it is so despite its core gameplay mechanic, not because of it. What makes BioShock Infinite amazing for me is everything but the first-person shooting. Why? Because first-person shooting is the wrong mechanic for the game. What brought this topic up for me was my recent playthrough of Infinite's most recent downloadable content, Burial at Sea Episode 1. I was excited to jump back into the world of Rapture and rejoin two of my favorite characters, Booker and Elizabeth. But my excitement soon waned when I realized that it would be like its predecessor, mostly running and gunning.
What are they?
Where have you been? Cabin in Arcadia? Little sisters. Atom factories.
Red means stop.
It's grotesque.
Green means go. This is the rule all little girls know.
I played it through regardless because what makes the game so great remains as well. The eerily cheerful music, the inventive visual design, the little conversations you hear from the city's residents, the audio journals. And when playing the game and remembering those game elements, it hit me. BioShock Infinite tells its story through passivity, through observation. You walk the halls, visit the shops, see the people, hear the music. You listen to journals. You experience your favorite characters baring their souls to each other. You gasp as you see the newest, jaw-dropping visual set piece. That's what makes BioShock special. That's what makes it beautiful, and harrowing, and exciting, and scary. It's what you observe. Hopefully you are beginning to see how the core game mechanic of gun combat is a distraction to what makes the game great. Yes, it is fun, but it fails to buoy up the game's story, themes, or characters. So, quick summary before we look at specific examples. BioShock Infinite's key storytelling device operates passively, but its core gameplay mechanic of gun combat undermines it by creating an active distraction. Now, let's look at some examples taken from Burial at Sea, Episode 1. Burial at Sea begins much like Infinite did. You get to walk around and soak in a fascinating, almost intoxicatingly beautiful world.
I've known my share of Shylocks.
Invitations to Cohen shows are highly coveted. Nobody's gonna just hand us one.
You think you can figure out a way to distract the store owner while I take a look around?
You just find the mask. Leave the distractions to me.
At this point, the game is winning in my book. You complete a few simple tasks, and you get to learn more about the characters. You see Booker's comfort with criminal behavior such as stealing, and you watch Elizabeth's powerful yet somehow cold-hearted cunning combined with her weaponized sexuality.
The bricks, you tramp, or I'll see to it they hit you.
Get your hands off me! Might be best if we were gone when he wakes up.
My favorite part of the game was entering Sander Cohen's art exhibit and being shocked by its grotesque violence and elaborate construction.
In front of my muse shall not be mocked. Fitzpatrick!
Please!
Thus,
Let her, for God's sake!
my muse shall not be mocked. Get them out of here.
The rest of the game, however, only offers brief returns to that original joy of passive engagement. You must run and gun, almost without much planning or thought. But here's the kicker. Burial at Sea tries to add to its combat mechanic by introducing stealth kills.
15 years now.
Now I want to scream at the game developers. Can't they see what they almost did? They almost solved the paradox of their game's passive storytelling and the uninspired combat mechanic. They could solve it through stealth. A stealth mechanic keeps combat in the picture, but it relies on the same passivity that makes the game so unique. You observe, you look, you listen, and all the while you can hear your enemies' intriguing musings, see more of the game's visual design, and soak in more of the game world. Unfortunately, the stealth mechanic does not work well in Burial at Sea. After one stealth kill, you almost always blow your cover, and the enemies do not move in a way to allow you to stealth kill each one with any amount of rapidity. To conclude, the clashing of a game's core mechanics and its methods of conveying story, characters, and themes only acts to distract the player from everything the game could have been. This doesn't have to be the case, and we have plenty of examples of games that excel at combining mechanics and story. Games like Portal, the Civilization games, Proteus, and Batman Arkham Asylum.
What's this girl to you?
What I need from her is my business. And I know where to start looking.
I love the BioShock games. They are inspiring and gorgeous and thought-provoking, but all in spite of their core mechanic of gun combat. Ultimately, I believe the more games that move away from gun combat, the better. The industry is drowning in them, and it almost seems like combat is the only way to convey story. It isn't. In fact, I would have loved to experience Burial at Sea, and BioShock Infinite in general, through the same passive observation that made both games' first moments so special.